Jean-Luc, they said it couldn't be done. They said it wouldn't be done. Some people said it shouldn't be done, but they did it. A new Steam Deck.
And we got it.
So we're gonna unbox the brand new Steam Deck, and we're gonna walk through some of the features and talk about what it's like to use. Important to say, this is a very casual, like, first impressions. We've used it a bit. We are gonna have a more in-depth review on the site soon, but in lieu of that, because that takes time, we just got this, we thought we'd do a quick overview. Okay, here we go.
So this is my first time actually seeing the thing. You've technically...
I've looked at it.
You've looked at it.
I smelled it. I can tell you it smells like nothing. Don't lick it.
Don't lick it?
Too big.
Do they have any of that anti-coating stuff? Like
I did not lick it. I'm not ready.
You have a knife?
You know what? I'm gonna take this out.
You know, we'll get to that in a sec.
That's just the charger.
That's just the charger. I assume it's the exact same, right?
Yeah, I assume so.
Games in a whole new light. So the big thing with this one is it's the Steam Deck OLED, baby.
It's an OLED. It's pretty much exactly what you would
look at that. They went a little red.
They're going for red.
That's also red vibe on this one.
So this actually is the first major, I think, upgrade or change is the case. The case is, it's in a lot of ways the same. Like, you have this belt thing which you can stick under, which I do put my charger underneath this, which it works. But it's actually also got this new kind of Velcro. So like it makes it extra secure.
Interesting.
Which is good. But it also has, so like here it is.
Yeah, here it is.
So doesn't look very different to you, right? It looks basically the same.
It looks basically the same.
Yeah. So first thing, the case, it's got a removable shell.
Oh.
So as you can see here, you can pull the shell off if you wanted to.
What would you put in there?
I'm not quite sure why you would want to do that, but it is doable. So these shell portions. Maybe it's a case of like a new accessory avenue where you can people can make these new shells and put them in or customize them to a degree. Who knows?
My first initial impressions is the sticks are slightly different.
Yes.
Of course. This is my Steam Deck. We're gonna use for comparison here. So, I mean, here, like, first off, let's just side by side. So it looks kind of the exact same.
Yeah. All right, in terms of weight, Valve says there's been a reduction of around 5%. The new OLED Steam Deck weighs 640 grams, whereas the previous one, the older model, the first model, is 669 grams. Nice.
Okay.
And that number doesn't seem like a lot, but I don't know about you, but I found it perceptible in the play sessions immediately. Like, even the original Steam Deck, you pick it up and you're like, this is not that heavy. No. But what sets in is the fatigue when you're holding it for long periods of time.
I was gonna say, like, just holding them like this, I'm not noticing an immediate, like, I think this is heavier, but it's not
noticeable. So the thing that happened to me was, when I play the Steam Deck, I find myself over time resting it against like my leg or something like that. Whereas with the new OLED one, I didn't feel the need to do that as much. It felt way more like comfortable in my hand. Yeah. On paper, not that much different in terms of weight, but in your hand, it feels considerably lighter.
So then the other thing I mentioned is the sticks. They feel different. There's like a different material on the top there.
Yeah, so the top is a little glossier, which is different from the kind of more matte feel of the original.
Yeah, like if you look at these other ones, they have like a weird, like they almost kind of get like a weird chalky vibe to them.
Yeah, and I think that is part of that is because of the kind of like, you need it to be slightly tactile because this serves as a mouse as well, right? Because everyone forgets that, but the sticks are also a mouse.
Because no one uses it.
And so on this one, it's like more of a glossy feel.
Yeah.
So those are the small things. Like, outwardly speaking, the button is now red, so you can actually see where the button, the off button is. I mean, like, it doesn't really do much, but it's kind of like a nice aesthetic touch.
Sure. But like, otherwise, like, everything's
pretty much the same.
These buttons are like slightly grayer.
Yeah. I think what's going to be interesting is whether these buttons have the issue of being sticky, which a lot of people had when they were in the first batch. I was part of the first batch of Steam Decks, and I definitely I've got a sticky B button for various reasons. Obviously, the big draw for this, the kind of marquee feature, is the screen. It's an HDR OLED screen, which is quite impressive. Valve is saying this is the first HDR OLED screen on a portable device. And I played a few games on it and the HDR does look good. Even the animation boot logo is now red. It's red,
wow.
Yeah. The screen is bigger. It's 7.4 inches now.
Oh, wow.
That's up from the 7 inches that the original is. And that space comes from the actual bezels. You don't really notice it. I feel like that's the story of this new device. You won't really notice until you look at it and you have it and you're like, oh, this is actually quite meaningful. Like if you put them side by side, look how bright one is compared to the other, and also the screen real estate. The OLED, it has a nit peak brightness of 1000. That's up 400 nits compared to the original one.
I mean, that is absolutely what you would need to properly do HDR, so that makes sense.
Yes, exactly. And this isn't exactly an expert, breakdown of it. Screen looks nice.
It does look nice.
Screen looks real nice.
So that is the thing that would get me to upgrade to this.
Yes.
Because I love my Steam Deck.
Mm-hmm.
I think the screen is serviceable. I own a Switch OLED. And when I play on the Switch OLED and then I go back to this, I'm like, this screen looks
not great.
Not great. It looks a little washed out. It doesn't pop.
Yeah.
This immediately.
It does pop. The colors are popping. There are some other advantages to the new screen. It's got a 90 hertz refresh rate, which is up from 60 hertz, and a 0.1 millisecond response time, which is what they say. So the battery life is also 30 to 50% longer, which is in their kind of like message to us. They were like, hey, we put a bigger battery in there, but we didn't increase the size too much. So that's pretty cool.
I do wonder how if HDR affects the battery life.
I'm sure. Yeah, like as with most devices of this ilk, and definitely with the original Steam Deck, that 30 to 50% is quite a large gamut, and it all depends on how you the games you're playing, what settings they're on, how you've kind of tweaked the actual settings of the deck itself. Right. If you're powering, using more frame rate, limiting frame rates or whatever it may be, and that as a result will kind of impact your battery life. Another important thing, the power of this has not changed.
Okay. Yeah.
So internally, Valve is describing this as the best version of the Steam Deck. So not Steam Deck 2, it is like the peak version of the original Steam Deck.
So Baldur's Gate 3 is not going to run any better on this?
No, Baldur's Gate 3 won't run any better on it. It is functionally largely the same. So the other thing is the cooling's better. More efficient APU. Right. So I played this for a fair bit. When I play the original Steam Deck, I can feel it getting hotter and I can feel my hands getting hotter. Yeah. And I can hear the thing is pumping out heat. The fans are working. This is, I can't say whether it's getting less hot, but the distribution of heat feels less concentrated around my hands.
Interesting.
Which is definitely something that is going to improve the overall experience of playing games.
I'm going to load up Elden Ring because I want to see how this looks.
Yeah. Other things to kind of talk about that they've mentioned is there's a new Wi-Fi 6E module in there, which means according to them you'll be able to download games 2 or 3 times faster. Okay. Which is sweet. It's got access to the 6 gigahertz spectrum along with the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz.
Woo-wee. Okay, yeah, this is looking good.
That looks nice, man. I would like to play some Elden Ring.
Wow. Oh, and the increased refresh rate on the monitor is
it's noticeable.
Feels smoother, and I'm just like, oh man, look at wow.
Yeah. Again, it's the story of this is small changes and improvements, but enough of them and to make them the overall kind of package a little more meaningful, especially if you don't already have a Steam Deck. For the 512 model of the OLED, it is $549. And the 1 terabyte model of the OLED version is $649. And there's also a limited edition version of the 1 terabyte model, which has got a translucent colorway. And it's only available in US and Canada. And that's the one with the carrying case that has an exclusive design on the inside. That one's $679. And then the original Steam Deck models, the LCD ones, $399 for the 256 gigabyte. So it ain't cheap, baby.
Ow. very quickly, I brought my Switch OLED. They look pretty comparable, I would say.
Yeah, they look really nice.
Yeah, just kind of like a quick kind of, you know, eyeball side by side. Like this is a hard thing to kind of like show off in the camera, but just I would say they both look of a similar quality. Is the case like basically exactly the same?
It's kind of, yeah, for the most part.
So what? I'm curious if someone will find a way to like take this screen and like mod it into this one. I know it is possible to swap the screen. I also know it is a huge pain
in the butt,
to do, so it's not necessarily an easy mod, but I am curious if like someone will find a way to do it, or like will Valve like sell the screen separately?
Yeah,
they probably won't do that, but that would be cool. That might be a bit much, but
yeah,
I'm sure someone will find a way to fit that thing into this thing.
Good luck
at that
to
point,
them. What you do? Just buy it.
Maybe just buy a new one. It might be not worth the hassle, but who knows?
There you have it, the Steam Deck OLED. OLED. Like we said at the top of this video, there will be a more in-depth review or feature around this by someone who is a little more tech savvy than I am. But yeah, first impressions are good. Like if you don't have one and you've been on the fence about getting one and you want a Steam Deck, this is the one. This is the one to get. I mean, the other one's gonna be out there and slightly cheaper, perhaps more available, but I feel like if you get this, you're having a great time with some video games.
Yeah.